Welcome to We Grew Up Married. My name is Jorge and my wife Elena, and we have been together for almost 30 years.
Yes, we have. We're a pastoral couple who got married at 18 and 19. And as my husband said, 30 years later, we've grown through every season of marriage. From raising children to becoming grandparents.
From ministry to real life challenges.
Yeah, we didn't just build a life together, we grew up together, literally. This podcast is about real conversation of marriage, faith, family, and the reality of growing together. So, wherever you are in your journey, pull up a seat.
And join us in our conversation, which is very exciting today because we are going to talk about not only a relationship in our marriage, but what about when we start having kids?
Yeah.
How our life changes completely.
So, before kids
And after kids.
and after kids. So, before kids, we used to talk for hours. And I say that in a different way because we still sometimes talk for hours. But it has shifted. And how has it shifted? Now, like before kids, we just talked wherever. It didn't matter because there was no interruption, right? But after kids, we found ourselves, which now it has stayed with us and it's a habit.
Yeah.
We'll end up going to bed, it's time to sleep, turn off the lights, and then we start a conversation.
Yes.
And sometimes it's 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're still having a conversation, which is great. But it's just funny that our kids are grown now. We don't have that continuous interruption, but that's a habit that has stayed with us. And I'm like, why are we doing this to ourselves? We don't want to wake up in the morning. But that's one of those things that has stuck with us from before we had children. Or I'm sorry, after we had children.
Yes.
Because before, it was a very easy thing to do, right? There's no
Yeah.
interruption, there's no kids around, there's no lunches to be made, there's no school runs, there's none of that. And here we are.
Life was so easy when we did not have any
Right.
kids.
Right.
And in fact, that's one of the recommendation as a couple right now. If you can wait a little to have your kids and have the opportunity to put a good foundation in your relationship, to strengthen your marriage
Right.
before having kids, because your life will completely change. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness,
it'll
your
be-
life will completely change.
Turn upside
Not
down.
for the bad.
No.
Not for the bad. I never regretted having my kids. In fact, it had been one of our greatest joy to have a family. But it comes with responsibility, and one thing that I experienced. I don't know you, baby, but marriage often changes quietly.
100%.
And when you start having a family, it changes completely.
Yeah, and it's not because the couples like stop loving each other. It has really nothing to do with that. But the responsibilities that are added into the marriage, and again, we're talking about kids today. That layer of responsibility, it slowly starts replacing the intentionality between the couple. I don't know if you remember, we did a marriage retreat one year, and we were in charge of doing a game. And in that game, we were supposed to try and imitate how the responsibilities in life affect the marriage and the couple. And the game went something like this. The couples were together. They were, hugging together. And then they were given balloons that were inflated, and they had to try and put balloons in between them.
And try to walk. I
Walk
remember
with
that.
them and try to be close to each other, as close as those balloons would allow them to. And the reality is that those balloons represented responsibilities, not only the bills, the everyday life, like for us, church, right? Because we're a pastoral family, so church plays a huge impact or a piece of our everyday. But work, bills, financial situations that can come up, influences or situations that happen outside of the scope of the marriage, but like our parents, our immediate family, and then you're hit with children, and so think about this. So you're here. Some relations, some things start separating you. They start separating you. But what is the first thing that happens when you have a child? Think about it. Dad is over there holding one hand, mom is over here holding the other. There's already one whole person in between you. So the distance happens gradually, but it's a huge impact in, in what happens throughout the marriage as responsibilities grow. So intentionality, it is so important. So remembering who you were before the chaos, surviving exhaustion together, protecting connection, and choosing each other on purpose again is some of the stuff that we want to kind of touch today or with you, just because I feel like those topics are super important to try and maintain the marriage connected. What happens, right?
And we don't want to give you the wrong impression. Even it is important for our viewers to understand this. The danger is not having children.
Right.
The danger is forgetting that marriage, that you are marriage while you are creating or building a family. You talk about, baby, about being intentional. Intentional, it plays a big role in a strong family,
Right.
because you have to have time for your little babies, that they cannot support each other.
Right.
They depend on you. You have to have time for romance.
Yeah.
You have to have time for meaningful conversation. How do you handle a real true moment of conversation, of intimacy, when you get tired and you had not had a good night rest because the baby was
Fussy
sick
last night, right.
or whatever it is. You have to proactively be intentional in finding those pace, time and space for you and your spouse, and it is not always easy. In top of that, we need to add something else: schooling.
Yeah.
What about schooling?
Yeah.
Because we have not talked about this. Think about building a family while you're going through school, which is another layer of responsibility.
He's saying that because that was us. Because remember, we got married at 18 and 19.
Yeah.
We still didn't have our college degrees.
I never forget the tension and the my biggest issue that I have when we had our first daughter, that I had to go to school in the morning,
work in the evening,
and then come home and do homework. But at that time, when you got home, that you got so tired, you had to play with your little one. Right. You had to,
because they haven't seen you all day.
They have not seen you all day.
Yeah.
And then, in top of that, we had to have time for you and I
to connect somehow. And
not always we got it right. but
it was a true struggle. I remember, this is our oldest daughter. She was maybe about a year old, and you had found a job. So basically, you had classes early in the morning. There was a break in between classes and when you started work, that you would come home, do your homework, do your stuff, whatever, and then run to that job. And that job started, I think it was 2:30 or 3 in the afternoon.
2:30 to 11 o'clock.
Until 11 o'clock. But sometimes your shift ran over. And I remember our daughter would stay up. She would, all of a sudden, she just didn't go to sleep. She would not go to sleep. She would not, and I'm like, what is happening? And I remember telling you, I feel like she's staying up waiting for you.
Yes.
And she was. It was like this realization of, oh my goodness.
The moment that I get into the house and I say hi to her, then hug her and kiss her.
It was like,
it was like her medicine to go to sleep.
Yeah.
It was.
You were her melatonin.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was tough because, how do you do that? You had to work. That was the situation we had. In order to give them a better future, we had to improve ourselves. So it was a tough time. It was definitely a tough time. And it was a tough time trying to connect and finding time to connect. I felt like we had none. And I worked full time. I went to school full time too. It was rough.
It's something that you mentioned, and it was the reality, and it hit us when you read the Bible, because God built family.
Yeah.
He created everything, and Solomon says that is time under the sun for everything.
Amen. Yes.
The issue is not raising family. The issue is not having kids. The
Right.
issue is finding boundaries and removing all the noises that distract you from be balanced
Right.
in your approach of marriage and raising a family. I love Genesis 2 verse 24 that says, before a man shall leave, and this is what God says, that when he created Adam and Eve, he said, therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. One thing that never is replaceable. Your kids were never going to be able to replace that blessing,
Yeah.
that you become one flesh.
Right.
And by not taking time with each other, by sometime putting your kids first, you are dishonoring what God have established in your life, because God
Yeah.
wants you to have a family,
Right.
but in the right order. And I love this statement. God established marriage before parenting.
Right.
And
Right.
before Adam and Eve were told to be fruitful and multiply,
Right.
he says they should be first be husband and wife.
Right.
You cannot replace the order. Because otherwise you will have
Yeah, it's the order, and I'm gonna say this because I think it's a good time to say it. That's something we've had to learn. I don't think we struggled with this at all. We had this understanding, I think, early on, and it's that, God first, but who comes second? Husband and wife. So the spouse is second, and a lot of people, when they have children, they move the child into the spouse's position. And now I'm going to talk to the ladies, because I feel like the ladies struggle with this more than men, right?
because they feel guilty.
Well, they feel guilty. They feel, definitely, we always feel guilt. We always think that we're not the best moms, or we struggle with that. But it's hard when you have grown an entire human being inside you.
That's true.
Excuse me. And now you've given birth to this tiny little person. How do you not put that little person first? And now I'm not talking about a baby needs more of its parents, but as the baby grows up, they should start needing less and less, right? And as parents, we don't want them to need us less. We want us to need us more. But the reality of life is that your job as parents is to prepare that child to be independent and grow independently. Now, I say that to say we want to hold on so tight sometimes that we forget that our first responsibility is to our spouse, in this case, to our husbands. And that is a tough concept for moms. We tend to hold on to the children and to that need, because they need us and we want them to need us and we want to have that relationship, that we forsake our partner. That is not okay. That is not healthy. And to be honest, that actually creates a unhealthy foundation for children to feel safe in the marriage, because children pick up a lot of things. If mom and dad are not in a good place, they're not connecting, they're not building, they're not loving on each other, children don't feel safe in that environment. And they pick up on it. And there will probably be more issues behavior-wise with the child because of that. A family can survive on structure for a while, but a marriage only survives on connection. And our connection cannot be interrupted by anything. Now, it may be delayed some, right? Because of circumstances of life. It could be delayed. But remember I said in the beginning, intentionality? That is like a key word. And we talk about this all the time. We have to be intentional. We have to be intentional in everything we do in our marriage. If we don't do that, we would not be here today. I'm telling you that right now. It would be impossible. I'll tell you, from being a pastor's wife, church takes a huge piece and interrupts a huge piece in our life. We're not talking about that today, but just like that huge piece, there's that huge piece of children. And I've always like been very good at reminding us, I think, of, hey, and you have too. I'm not saying you haven't, but I like, if I need him more because, we get busy, I'm like, hey, we need to like work on this. Like we've been drifting because of all these things that are in the middle of us. We need to find a way to connect, right? Whether it could be something simple, it doesn't have to be anything complicated.
And that is something that I love about you, baby. You were very intentional in communicating with me your needs, because for guys, we are task oriented sometimes. We wanted to accomplish. In fact, that's how we feel accomplished. When we get up in the morning and we said, okay, we need to do this, and this, and this, and this, and we are a machine working and accomplishing things. And once in a while, it's so good to have your spouse or your significant other say, hey, I need you to slow down a little. I need this from you. And if there is something that I always value from the bottom of my heart, it was this. You always, when you needed me, or when you were asking to connect with me in a deeper level, you were very vocal about it. In fact, and that's serious. She would throw a tangent if I did not pay attention to that, and I really appreciate that because you were looking to, this is our space. I remember sometime, even with the church aspect, not with the kids, but with the church aspect, it says the church need you, but I also need you at home.
Yeah, and our kids need you. Let me tell you, the kids would act up when you were MIA.
Yeah.
And as they get older, kids will tell you, Dad, you're not here. In their own way, they'll call you out on it. And they would.
Yes.
And so their reaction of and that's a good thing, right? They wanted us there, which is an amazing feeling. But life has a way of really making you busy because you do have responsibilities that you have to attend to. And I know, like for you, that's a heavy load. You tell me that often, that, it's hard to balance all the responsibilities you have. And family and church, right? God, family. And you want to put God first. But the difference is that when your job is interlaced with the godly piece of our lives, it's really hard to make a stop, like to separate, right? But it's a little bit different. Like we should be looking for God first, and we do. God should always be first. But it's hard when you're a pastor or a pastor of family, because our relationship with God is so tied in with the church and our duties that we forget that there is a difference of separation.
You brought something by mentioning that. It brought me to the Bible. I always, I cannot help myself. Even Jesus, I think Jesus and the 12 disciples, the 12 disciples were like the little kids for Jesus.
Right.
And there was an occasion in the Bible that they were doing ministry and they were doing a lot of stuff for the Lord, and Jesus got to the point that he said, stop what you're doing and come with me and rest for a while.
Right.
that moment, what he was looking, the mission was important.
Right.
The church is important. Salvation for all the people is important. We are committed a pastoral family. We understand
Right.
the responsibility that God had given us as a pastoral family,
Yeah.
and the responsibility of sharing the gospel and the anointing in our life. Because not only I'm a pastor, but you are my partner in crime, so to speak. So it is just the fact that when you look at Jesus, he said, "Come with me for a while. Mission is important, but my relationship with you is more important." And I want to say this in the context of our kids, guys, is and ladies, it's not about the amount of time you spend,
Right.
because that's life happens, and
so
and
glad you
I don't
mentioned that.
I don't have all the
Right.
time and luxury on but if you're gonna be present, make it count.
Make it count. Quality time.
Quality time.
I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Quality
That
time.
is key. Quality time.
It's not you always say this to me, and you're so right. Your kids will not remember the stuff that you buy to them, and you can buy nice clothing. You can, in fact, sometimes what we do is to create an emotional unbalanced human being,
Right.
by not being present, and create entitlement when you are trying to compensate your absence
Yes.
with stuff.
With stuff.
And at the end of the day, they will not remember any of that. What they will remember is that was in my soccer game. Dad came to my graduation. Dad and mom came to spend time with us.
They spent time with us. They were interested in what we were interested in. They listened to when we complained about a teacher. They talked to us when we made mistakes. You're there. You're present. That's really what kids want. And to be honest, your partner wants that too. I like to have you present, meaning that you're not checked out because your brain is so many different responsibilities. Know that you're present in the 10 minutes that we may have together. You're present with me in that moment, and that is a huge value for me. I'm not you know this. I am okay by myself. I am not a needy person.
I am very needy.
I am not a needy person by nature, but that doesn't mean that I don't need you in my life. I just need different versions of what other people might need, right?
Yeah.
So you have to understand your partner. You have to be able to provide those needs to them. All right. So, wow, it's so hard to think about everything and cover everything, but talking about exhaustion and responsibilities with children,
Sleep
parenting
deprived.
parenting introduces like these new things that you weren't used to, and you just mentioned one, like sleep deprivation. When you have a baby, you are so tired.
Financial pressure is for men,
Yeah.
because as men we feel it's so interesting. As men, when you have a family, it's like your level of commitment and responsibility raises
It's
up,
so true.
and it gets to the point that you feel like a failure if you cannot provide for your family, and it is so beautiful, when even raising our kids, you come and says we're gonna be okay. Slow down. Financial burden is
So
one of them.
let me talk about that because you just touched on that, right? For the guy is very different. I just had I'm not gonna say who it is in the family because I don't want to throw them under the bus, but I had a recent amazing message from a family member that talked about that, they're expecting and they're so joyous about the new baby that's coming, and the first thing he told me was, it was incredible. I was trying to be in the moment, and I was in the moment of celebrating with my wife this new addition to our family, but my brain was already trying to figure out financially, shifting to what am I going to prepare talking about, college fund. The baby's not even born yet.
And they are thinking,
and
yeah,
he's already like
Yeah.
thinking about that. So your responsibilities change, the impact, right, of this new level of responsibility. Emotional overload. I think for women going through birth, and I'm going to mention this because guys, you really need to excuse me, be mindful of this. Women go through so much change as, they develop a whole human inside of you. And your hormones are crazy. Your whole body is shifting and changing.
and we don't understand.
And you guys
sometimes.
don't understand
That's the
that,
bottom. That's
obviously. But it's super important that, when that baby comes, there is so much that's happening again to that lady's, whole emotions and hormones and body changes again. It is craziness in here,
Yeah.
for us. So it's important to, as a partner, especially for men, to be mindful and notice and try to be kinder, be more present, keep your eyes open,
Actually, you mentioned that this and if you start the foundation wrong, you will never going to have a good building, a good family building. And I think even from birth, from the beginning of birth, you have to be intentional to take time with your spouse.
Yeah.
Because I remember this. I remember when you were nursing our little babies, and sometimes you were so tired. I cannot nurse. You have to nurse. But I did something that I know you appreciated. That sometimes in the middle of the night, I wake up and just rub you back and
You were just present.
just present. That creates a balance. Hey, there is a new creation, so to speak,
Yeah.
that needs a lot of attention, needs a lot of love. But we are
I'm
here.
here, and we're together.
I'm here. We are together in this
Right.
journey together, and you don't come second place. You continue to have your own place. Now we're adding more, and one of the challenges
Shifting
sometimes,
attention. Per se.
yeah, couples stop being spouse and become co-workers instead of managing the household, so to speak. You are not fighting, and sometimes because of fatigue, sometimes because of sleep deprived, because of the tension for men, the financial aspect, the challenge of a new person that invaded your space, so to speak. Think about this. Am I in a moment of romance and beauty between us, and out of the blue the baby cries? That you want to strangle that little creature. But at the same time, yes, sometimes you fight not because we hate each other.
No.
It's because we are
Emotionally
depleted.
depleted. Yeah.
And we need each other in that regard. So raising family, you have to always keep yourself balanced. It's not about mom raising the little kids. As dad, as men, we need to step up and say, you know what, my wife was up all night. Let me do some laundry. Let me do some dishes. Let me help.
Right.
Because I know for you, baby, your love language in connectivity with me is for me it's affirmation and work of encouragement. For you is acts of service. And when I'm intentional, I remember one time my wife said this to me, that when I was washing dishes, I looked very sexy. She had never said that before in any other area, just when I wash dishes. I think she was trying to get me
I
to
was
wash
encouraging you.
Yes. But I
my
was
goodness.
watching dishes one time and she looked at me and said, "You're so sexy."
Apparently it's stuck.
Yeah,
See?
yeah, yeah.
And this is why he usually washes the dishes for me. Oh my goodness.
And that's what the Bible says, by the way. The Bible says in Ecclesiastic 4, 9, and 10, it says, two are better than one.
Yeah.
If either of them fall down, one can help the other get up. And that's the beauty of raising a family. It's a journey together. It's not someone who invaded you.
Yeah.
It's the greatest gift God have given humanity, to be able to procreate and to be able to have life beyond themselves, and that is beautiful.
Well, and like your spouse doesn't need criticism. You need from each other support. You need to hold each other up. And like for ladies, I know that if you're tired because you have a brand new baby, part of communicating is letting your husband know, this is what I need. And I'm glad he mentions that, because you have to be vocal about what you need. If your spouse doesn't come naturally to knowing like what you need from him, like you do have a brand new baby, you're nursing this baby, you're tired and sleep well, communicate, right? Tell him, hey, I really need you to step up.
And by the way, reality check for men: not always your wife needs sex.
This is correct.
Sometimes it's just being quiet right beside the person you love, or I don't know. It's just it's different from men and women, but
that's very important, especially after a woman has had a child. The intimacy shifts.
Yeah.
This is another piece, right, of having a brand new baby and growing
less
your
dating.
family. You have less dating, less time to have intimacy. But intimacy is not just the act of of lovemaking. Intimacy is actually more than that. We've talked about this before. Intimacy is those quiet moments, like he just mentioned, that I'm tired in the middle of the night holding a baby, trying to breastfeed. I'm exhausted because of whatever, right? Because we're human, and this baby has woken up to every 2 hours, every 3 hours, I don't know, whatever the time might be. That fact that he's reached out and just put his hand, letting me know I'm here with you. Let me tell you, yes, you have a baby on you. You don't look appealing and sexy anymore, but your husband is still telling you, I still love you. With that touch, there doesn't need to be words.
Yeah.
I love you. I'm here. This is a beautiful moment with our new family. I'm supporting you. You're not here alone. You're sleep deprived, but I'm not over there turning around and going to sleep or moving into a different bedroom because I can't sleep because I have to get up in the morning or to go to work. No, you're in this together. You made this baby together out of love. That love needs to continue to transcend the times, and that includes a brand new baby. Distance usually just happens gradually, and when a baby comes, that distance that I was talking about before, if you let it interrupt you, it's going to disrupt that connection, and that gap will get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
And it is not something that you say, okay, I would not have interruption in my life.
Right. No.
I can plan this. Let me tell you something. When you're planning to have a family, you will have a whole bunch of things that you look like that you are an expert.
Right.
Then you realize I have 6 things that I want to accomplish when I have a family. Then you realize that you have 6 kids and no and nothing nothing accomplished to a certain degree. What I mean by that is that you cannot plan your life like in black and white.
You cannot.
When you have a family, there will be more great areas than anything else in life. And if you are not ready for welcoming into your life the unexpected, one thing that I remember, and I always thought about this and said, life is very interesting. Have you ever been doing something, or we have been doing something, and we get interrupted by our kids? Dad, I want to play. Dad, I want to do this. Then you say, okay, I'm gonna stop what I'm doing. I'm gonna play with you, and at that time they don't want to play.
Yeah.
They don't want to play.
They're like, no.
I don't play. But the moment you start
Yeah.
re-engaging in all the activity, that's the moment that they
Yeah.
feel, oh, this is my time to make their life miserable again, so to speak. But in reality, is you have to welcome unexpected things,
Interruptions.
interaction,
Yeah.
and the interaction not necessarily are bad.
No.
They could be the greatest joy of your life,
Right.
but you have to manage it in a timing in a way that is mature,
Healthy.
that you don't create distant,
Yeah.
because if no, you tend to run the risk of one day feeling that you and your spouse are roommate.
Yeah, I have a pet peeve, and one of my pet peeves, and my my kids know, and my husband knows, I detest going out to eat at a restaurant, for example, or being at the dinner table, and people have their phones in their face. I think first, I think it's disrespectful to the people that are around you, and I'm not saying that there's not things that you're not gonna look up or share, whatever. That's not what I mean. But the fact that you're taking time away from your everyday, and now this is a time to connect, both as a couple and as a family, and then you have, a phone in the way. Today, when it comes to social media, and here we are sharing all this podcast through social media, but there's a time under the sun for everything. And this is why I bring this up, because it is so crucial for you to make time to spend with your kids and your family, your church family. I mean, and connect with your family members outside of your home, your parents, your sister, your siblings, whatever the case might be, and then other friends that you make along the way. All those things are important, but as a family you need to find time to connect, and if that's at the dinner table, there should not be any phones, to be honest. You should try and find topics of conversation. There is so much to talk. Our kids are grown now. So, our youngest is about to graduate from high school. He's 18. He'll be 19 here in July. So, I mean, he's the last one at home per se, right? Because the oldest one is married. Second one is in college already. She comes home during the summers. And then we only have one at home right now. And there's always topics of conversation.
Yeah.
You can find all kinds of topics of conversation. It could be by him making a comment, a statement, or asking a question, right? If you're paying attention, that opens up a whole other, realm of possibility to connect with your kids, and connect with each other and connect as a family. So I think that, and I bring up social media because nowadays, technology is amazing. Look what we're able to do through technology. It's a great tool, but it should not take the place of connecting. When we go out to dinner, I sometimes scan the restaurant, and you would be surprised the amount of couples that are sitting in front of each other, no kids, no other disruptions. They do not talk to them. They don't talk to each other, not even once.
And sometimes that is due to the fact that they neglected the relationship.
Yes, exactly.
By raising their own family.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
that's not always the case, but
Right.
sometimes that they become strangers in their own home.
Yeah.
And that's why a statistic shows that most people get divorced after the kids are gone, because
Well, we see it in ministry.
what keep them together was the raising of the kids. After that, they are completely strangers,
Right.
in their own home. And let me say this: small kids, small problems.
Yeah.
And the emotional tension, the unresolved issues,
Yeah.
the challenges that they bring into your life, it changes the level of intensity as they grew up.
Right.
And that is it's not the same thing that, oh, the baby is just and we need to change their diaper.
Right.
And someone said, mom and dad, I am going to date someone that you don't like, for example, or whatever
Or
the case may be.
I've tried alcohol or drugs,
Yes, yes.
right?
And by the way, don't think that because you are a pastoral family, your kids are not normal. The expectation sometimes that the churches and the people put in the pastoral family, they think that their kids are supermen and superwomen.
They're
Superwoman.
kids,
No, they
just
are
like
kids like any other
anybody,
kids,
right?
and they will do things that they will blow your mind. They will do things that you will be proud of, and there will other times that you will be disappointed. And the level of stress, if you don't know how to handle that careful, um, it create a disruption, uh, because especially for men, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, we get stress out for something, and the way we release stress is through sex. The majority, at least men, operate on that. Women are different in the sense that if your headspace is not in a good place, emotional and intimate
Relations are very
relationship
different.
are
Yeah,
very different,
right,
because you are not thinking on you right now, on your pleasure and your satisfaction or your partner's satisfaction. You are thinking, how I gonna deal with the issue that my kid is failing in school, for
right.
example, or how I gonna deal
Or
with
the
the issue that
bullying,
they bullying him in the school,
right, right,
or what about I have to pay the bill that is coming up, but I need to buy milk for the baby,
and
and
diapers.
or I lose. On top of that, it's not just raising family what creates a tension in your relationship, but external tension. For
Yeah,
example, relocation in our case, as
right.
a pastoral family. How many times in the middle of our
School year for the
school
kids.
years
Yeah,
for how, or when they are growing up and they get they start dating and they start having their first
yeah,
relationship, and out of the blue you have to sit down with them and say, hey, we are moving to a different city, a different town, and you will not longer be able to see that person that
right.
you, it's devastating, and that creates a lot of tension in the relationship. So managing is very important, and guys, it's not the and ladies, it's not the big things. The Bible says, watch out for the little foxes. They are the one that destroy the vineyard. It's not the big thing always. It's
And
sometimes
it's
it's
not destroyed overnight
no.
either. These things, they happen gradually. The little foxes in marriage today might be, like I mentioned, phones, social media, technology, emotional neglect. This is such a big one. I think there's always one or the two spouses that tends to internalize more emotions than the other, right? For us, I internalize more. You're more vocal with your feelings.
Yeah.
But those of us that are emotional, carry our emotions more within us, we have to try be more vocal. This is important, because those things really start creating a chasm within your relationship, because you're keeping quiet, but you're not, and it's not blowing up, is communicating in a healthy way, in a healthy manner, right? To not point fingers at your spouse, but to let him know, this is where I'm at, and this is how these things are making me feel. And if I don't do that, I can't have expectations, false expectations, of you knowing where I'm at, right? So that just creates a hole, a huge hole in the partner and the other person, and it creates a huge distance, barrier between the spouse and the spouses. Most marriages don't collapse from one giant explosion. It's just they slowly drift from that continuous and repeated disconnection from each other. So this is why intentionality is so important. That throughout, no matter what's happening at the home, from time to time, you make time to connect. I'm gonna use our oldest daughter's married, and I love to hear how she's developing in her marriage, and how she's it's so lovely to see them, right? They have a really beautiful marriage. They have little ones now. They have 3 children. And, she tells me one day, oh, we're going to go on a date. And I was like, oh, did you find a good babysitter? And she's like, no, we're going to put the big kids to bed and we are going to have a date in our sofa. And in my mind, I was like, that's amazing. I love that. I was like, oh, I love this. You don't have money? You can still make it work.
Yeah.
You don't have time? You can still make it work. You don't have a babysitter? You can still make it work. It goes back to that intentionality. You have to be intentional in your relationship to make those little spaces of time, and so I don't know if you remember this, when the kids were a little bit younger, they were probably young teenagers. If my husband and I were in the kitchen and he would come and hug me, or any form of affection, they are like, ew, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. They're loving every minute of it, and that to them is an expression of love to them. It creates in them a peace, a security, and it models what love is to them. Right? Even though they're, because they're teenagers, they're doing all that funny stuff. But they need that. They need to see that mom and dad are affectionate. That mom and dad hug, that mom and dad kiss. And I'm not talking about being inappropriate. I am talking about having a healthy dose of love. Yes, that they can see. They can model and demonstrate. Jesus is our model when it comes to the greatest love of all. Right? We are also models to our children of that love. So stay connected. Be intentional. Intentional marriages understand love. Love cannot survive on leftovers. And that's really strong. But let me tell you, there's a lot of marriages out there that are they're just in survival mode. There is no intimacy. And I'm not even talking about the act of sex. I am talking about no intimacy, period. There's no connection time. There's no talking time. There's no communication. There's no time spent with even the kids. There's no time. There is no intentionality behind what they're doing. They're on cruise control, meaning they wake up in the morning, they prepare lunches, they get the kids ready, the kids are out the door, he's out the door, I'm out the door, everybody goes to work, and it's like
the cycle is
just
same.
Repeating.
And
let me tell you, yes, we have fallen into that. It is so easy, right, to fall into that. And then the weekend comes, and then you go to church. Another cycle that happens. But there is no connection with God during the week, which is so important to have. At some point during the week, you need to have a connection with God. You need to start your day, with God. And if you have fallen off of that, reconnect. God is always there waiting. If you have God in the middle of your marriage, and I think it's funny when we say you should never have anyone in your marriage. Like, parents should be out of the door, no family, no friends. Nothing should interrupt, not even kids, this right here.
Yes.
Except God. Because God doesn't come to interrupt.
No, He comes to
connect,
complement
and build, right? And enhance the relationship that we have.
I love this quote. And it was in a business kind of approach, so to speak. Someone was talking about Elon Musk the other day, and they were saying that the guy is so successful because he had been able to remove noise out of his life.
Wow.
So
I think I did hear that.
He is 100% noise free. And let me tell you something. You be watchful for the noise. People who call you as a pastor sometimes, Pastor, can you come now? I need a visitation now. And it is time for dinner with your wife and your kids and your family. Or you have a plan, something. It creates noise. And you have to be intentional when you're raising family to avoid noise. I love this quote that says, even when life is loud, I still choose you. regardless of the noise that is out there,
Yeah.
we have to take time for each other.
Yes.
And the way you take time for each other is through connection, conversation, affirmation, prayer, rest, friendship. And one thing that is so important, and my wife and I have different way to decompress our pressure. Believe it or not, that's intimacy.
Yes.
Because you cannot give to other people what you don't have. And for example, the way I release my stress and the pressure of life, I love fishing. Some people find fishing a very boring sport, but you can give me fishing every day and I will be very happy man, because there is nothing more refreshing than doing nothing, just
Catch and release.
Catch and
release. No.
For my wife,
he loves to cook too.
Yes.
And he uses that as an outlet.
yes,
I am so blessed.
yes. In fact, when I want to release stress, that's one of the things
I know,
I
that's
do.
why I'm mentioning that.
And I love cooking. Is something that I was built with. My wife, on the other hand, she needs a space alone, and sometimes even when we have people around the house, she said, "Just give me 5 minutes. I just decompress."
Yeah.
And that's part of protecting your cocoon, so to speak, of your
Yes.
relationship.
And having your partner's back.
Yes, yes.
Right?
Because if she's in a good headspace and I'm in a good headspace, we can make meaningful and powerful and more
Connections.
more
Absolutely.
connection out of the decision that we have to make in a daily basis.
Yes. I wanted to read this because I found this quote. I told my husband, "Oh, I'm definitely gonna read this because I loved it." Kids don't ruin marriages; they expose what's already there. That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
That is such a scary thought. If there's distance, it becomes more visible. If there's strength, it becomes more necessary. Wow. Such powerful words. So, and I say that because I don't want you guys to leave tonight from this, chat thinking that the kids are really not a blessing, because they are. You just have to always remember who came first, right? Who built this marriage, this family, mom and dad. I love the illustration talks about a campfire and how like marriage is like a campfire. At first, the flames are strong. They're natural because you just started. You just put everything. You're preparing it. Heat comes easily because you're young and feisty. Connection feels effortless, but then over time,
I still feel that way.
I love you too, babe. But over time, you have all these interruptions, right? That impact the fire that's going in that campfire. You have responsibilities, you have exhaustion, you have parenting, you have stress. Everything just slowly pulls the attention from each other, right? From the fire, from maintaining that fire, and nobody intentionally puts the fire out.
Yeah.
Right? The fire, nobody went and stepped on it. Nobody threw, sand on it. Nobody, stumped on it. The fire just slowly disappeared because they were not feeding it. And if you don't feed the fire, and what does that mean?
I think feeding the fire, sometimes it's not the big things.
Right.
It's the small things. For example, sometimes I'm busy at work and I have not have time to think of anything else, and you call me, just a simple call saying, "Hey, I just checking on you."
Right.
It's just or vice versa.
Right.
"Hey, I'm calling you to check on you. How's your day going?"
And it doesn't take very long because I don't have time during the day, right? And I don't want to interrupt him because that could also be an interruption, right? If you're meditating and working on a sermon and your thoughts are flowing and I call you, that could also be an interruption. So I try to be very, short in my communication, but it's still a time for us to connect during the day, because again, if you don't do that intentionally.
Nothing is more refreshing than to have a busy moment of intense pressure, and someone comes and say, "Hey, I was thinking of you today, and or I just wanted to check on you. I know you have a lot in your plate today." It's
Or-
like a pressure cooker
or
that you release the pressure.
Yeah.
Shh. It's and
or I'm praying for you.
yeah, yeah.
I those words coming from your partner, when you're in church and you grow up in church, you guys are gonna know, if you have, that many people use that. Oh, pastor, I'm praying for you. Or, hey, brother or sister, I'm praying for you. My question is that a true statement? I believe that in a lot of times it is. And other times I feel like it's just a thing you say, right? You don't intentionally pray. But when it comes to your partner, we do have to pray for each other. He may not know this, but I pray for him often. If he is going through something difficult in church, or if he's preparing a sermon, and I'm one of those people that when I pray, I'm talking to God all throughout the day. I will raise him up, and there have been times, this happened to me the other night. I woke up in the middle of the night. He doesn't know this. I haven't even told him this.
You do tell.
But I woke up in the middle of the night and I just had this thing. I just stretched out my hand and I said, Lord, bless my husband. That's all I can get out because I was tired. It was the middle of the night. But just something like that, you need to pray for your spouse at every moment. There are things that he carries that I don't understand, just like there's things I carry that he doesn't understand, because we're different. He's a male, I'm a female. We have different roles. We have different responsibilities, not only at work, but in church and in our life, right? In our family. So pray for each other. You don't have to pray together as well, because that also enhances the relationship. Again, remember, God is that glue that keeps us connected and keeps us going. But pray for each other. And you don't have to tell your partner, hey, I've been praying for you all day, blah, blah, blah. It's not about that. It's about raising them up. Just like you would for your children, raise your spouse up too. They need it. Believe me. They need it.
And sometimes don't even have to be something spiritual. People sometimes think that because we are a pastoral family, we everything is talking about God
Church
all the time, and church and all the time. And that's not the case. Sometimes my wife don't even have to call me. She sent me a funny video from Instagram, and when I open it up and laugh, that releases tension and it give you. I don't know how to express it, but it give you a satisfaction. My partner is sharing something with me.
Right. There's a connection.
It's a connection.
You're being intentional.
You're being intentional.
Right.
You're being intentional.
I have seen throughout our ministry many couples that unfortunately, when they come to talk to us or whatever, the question is, at some point during that conversation, what happened to us? How did we get here?
Yeah.
And again, I go back to the fire. Little bits of times that you should be feeding that fire and you don't, and it will die, unfortunately. So the greatest gift parents can give their children is not a perfect home,
but it's a healthy marriage.
Yeah.
And always remember this. You and the greatest legacy that you can give your children is for them to understand that life is about priorities and boundaries.
Yes.
And understanding the value that each one of them play in their different role in the time and season that God have given you for you to take care of them.
Absolutely.
And that is for me, that is one of the most significant things that we can learn, because growing up married it have not been always peachy.
Yeah.
The roses sometimes have thorns.
Yes, they do.
But but it is in what you focus. And baby, if there is something that I value about you and the things that you contribute to our relationship, is that you don't focus in the negative. You focus, how can we become better partners? How can we become better parents? How can we impact our kids to be better than us and to have a greater generation? And it begins with you guys. It begins
Yes.
with you. There's a final quote that I just want to say is this: by beholding, you become changed. That's what the Bible says.
Yeah.
By a contemplating act day in and day out, you will become changed. And I love this quote that says, if the mind is not elevated beyond human perspective, if the mind doesn't contemplate love, kindness, and in his all purity, men will be sinking lower and lower. I think the greatest gift we can give to our kids is that they will see a genuine love and commitment and a strong bonding in our relationship, because
Yes.
our relationship is the greatest testimony that God is real.
Yes.
And when we love each other in a deeper way, is God saying to our kids, I told you so.
Yeah.
Marriage still work.
Yes, it does.
And it could be very successful.
Yes, it
So
can.
I just want to encourage our audience, if you are planning to get married, if you are planning to have a kid, don't be afraid. It will be a time for you to join in the journey. I think
It's
the
a
journey,
journey.
is a beautiful, and it is not in the destination. The beauty is not in the destination. The beauty is in the journey.
And smell the roses
And
on the
smell
way.
the roses on the way. Yeah, and eat
100%.
chocolate and fatty food sometimes and all the above. Yes.
You know, 1 Corinthians 13:7 says, love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things.
Yes. And I'm happy to see where God is taking us, and how He's protecting and keeping our family and
And watching them grow and start their own relationships. Like I said, our oldest is married, watching them be happy in their marriage, that it really adds a new level of amazement, at least for me, that wow.
And also our other two kids are
Yeah.
also in the journey. They
That's
are
what I'm saying.
younger,
They're younger, yeah.
but they are in the journey, and seeing them to a place of
finding out
who they are, and
what
who they
direction they want to go. Like I said, you know, our second daughter's in a relationship, watching her like develop, you know, herself, and watching her grow, and just like find out what she wants out of life.
Yeah.
You know. And of course, you know, our youngest, but he doesn't have a relationship right now. But as they grow, you watch them, just their personalities, and some you see a little bit of yourself. You see a little bit of our marriage that has impacted them, and I pray that you know, they continue to walk it with God in the midst of their life, so that they choose wisely and that they have a happy home as well. We thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being with us for We Grew Up Married. If this conversation encouraged you, share it with another couple who could use it. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. We'll see you next time right here as we continue growing together. Bye, guys.
Bye.